What if your entire life trajectory could be shifted not in a decade, not in a year, but in a matter of days? Not through some breakthrough event, not by a miracle, but by mastering the ordinary. What if the extraordinary has always been hiding in the things you've labeled boring and routine? And that's exactly why most people never find it. Most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit, over and over, until their standards dissolve into dust. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to make quantum leaps while you grind, plan, visualize, but remain stuck? Here's the truth most won't tell you. Leaps are built on layers. And layers are made from days. And the quality of your days decides the size of your leap. So I'll ask you now, and I'll ask it again later. What did your last 24 hours say about your future? That question will haunt you or fuel you, and you know exactly which one it is already. Mastering daily excellence isn't about perfection. It's about pressure. The pressure you place on yourself, not the kind that crushes, but the kind that forges. Because the world will try to make you average. Excellence has to be fought for. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people assume excellence is a personality trait, that it's tied to charisma, energy, a magnetic presence. That's a lie. Excellence is not a personality. It's a system. And you can build it like any system if you're willing to destroy everything that's keeping you comfortably underperforming. And yes, there's a reason you've kept those patterns alive this long. We'll get to that. The average mind seeks stimulation. The excellent mind creates structure. The difference? One gets consumed, the other creates. Ask yourself, right now, where your day's designed by default or by decision. If you don't know the answer, your results already told you. You can't afford to wake up hoping to have a good day. You don't hope for a legacy. You build unbrick by ordinary brick. But here's where most people get trapped. They think success comes from big, visible moves. It doesn't. It comes from things so small, so subtle, so unsexy that your brain will fight to ignore them. It's the quality of the way you sit in silence, the intent in the way you read a page, the presence in how you enter a room. I'll ask again, what did your last 24 hours say about your future? If that question feels like a punch, good, let it land. Because here's what happens next. I'm going to walk you into a kind of mastery that hides in plain sight. A kind of power that's so overlooked, you'll be stunned. You missed it this long. And by the time we're done here, you'll either be terrified of wasting another day or electrified by the realization that you never have to again. Let's destroy one more lie while we're at it. That excellence is something you stumble into after years of effort. No, excellence is something you decide and defend. Every single day, you are broadcasting one of two signals to the world, excellence or apathy. And don't fool yourself. Neutrality doesn't exist. If your days aren't building, they're eroding. So here's a disturbing question. When was the last time your routine scared your comfort zone? If the answer is, I don't remember, you've already started decaying. But that can change. And you don't need an overhaul. You need a shift. Because daily excellence doesn't require a 10-hour morning ritual or a monk's discipline. It requires presence, precision, and pattern interruption. Let me explain that last one. Most people live in loops. Same habits, same reactions, same distractions, same stories. But excellence begins the moment you break a loop, the moment you interrupt your usual reaction. That split second when you notice you're about to delay, to lie to yourself, to avoid discomfort and you don't. That's the crack where excellence sneaks in. And if you think those micro moments don't matter, I challenge you to track them for just 3 days. Track how often you reach for your phone to escape. Track how often you compromise on your own rules when no one is watching. Track how often you start your day on someone else's agenda and wonder why it never feels like yours. You don't need more motivation. You need more pattern recognition. And once you see the loops, you'll start to feel the power that's been leaking from your life. Now let me ask you a question that you may not want to answer. What's the one habit you've labeled no big deal that's been quietly stealing your potential for years? Hold that in your mind. We'll come back to it. Let's talk about energy. Not physical energy, attention energy. Excellence requires depth, And depth requires energy. Not just the energy to do things, but the energy to stay with them, to dive deep, to focus when the world demands you fragment. If your attention is scattered, your results will always be shallow. So what's scattering you? Notifications? Insecurity? Dopamine addiction? Because you can't master excellence if you're being manipulated every time a screen lights up. You think you're choosing, but your algorithm is. You think you're moving forward, but you're scrolling in circles. If that line hit too close to home, good. That means you're awake. Because one of the greatest modern indicators of mastery is the ability to go unnoticed for hours, because you're building something so strong it can't be ignored later. Still think excellence is sexy? It's not. It's mostly silence, repetition, detachment from applause. But the payoff is unfair. It multiplies over time in ways that people will call luck, and you'll smile because you'll know it wasn't. Now here's a deeper layer no one talks about. Daily excellence isn't just about the habits you start. It's about the identities you retire. Some of you are still dragging around an identity forged in your worst. Seize on expecting it to carry you into your best one. Impossible. You can't bring old software into a new future. There's a version of you that got you here, and there's a version you need to become to get there. And the faster you divorce the old one, the faster the new one shows up. Excellence demands evolution, and evolution demands a funeral for who you used to be. Let that land. And while it does, I'll keep going. Excellence is expensive, and the currency is honesty. So let's ask a dangerous question. Where are you still pretending? Pretending to care while secretly drifting? Pretending to work while mostly consuming? Pretending to plan when you're just procrastinating with spreadsheets? Pretending to grow when you're just recycling content and calling it progress? Excellence begins the moment you stop pretending. Pretending is heavy. It drains your energy. It numbs your hunger. It keeps you performing for approval instead of transforming for purpose. Want to reclaim your edge? Get brutally honest about the gap between what you say you want and what you actually do. And once you're honest, stay there. Don't run back to your comfort script. Don't soften the truth to feel better. Because here's the paradox. The more honest you are, the more momentum you unlock. Most people never master excellence because they keep editing their self-assessment. They excuse, they soften, they reframe reality into something more palatable. But you're different now. You're willing to stare at the numbers, the patterns, the broken promises without flinching. You're willing to ask, if I lived today 100 times, would I be proud of the person I became? And if the answer is no, you're willing to change. Immediately. That alone puts you in the top 1%. Now let's flip the script. We've talked about subtracting the things that sabotage excellence. Now let's talk about what must be installed. First, sacred structure. Sacred means non-negotiable. Structure means visible. What time do you wake up? What do you do first? What inputs do you allow? What actions are pre-decided? If your structure is weak, your discipline has to do all the heavy lifting. And discipline, while powerful, is finite. Structure saves your willpower for where it matters most. Next, meaningful metrics. Track what matters. Not how many hours you worked. How many outcomes you produced. Not how motivated you felt. How consistent you were. Not how many books you read. How many ideas you implemented. Numbers don't lie, but we do specially to ourselves. Metrics force clarity. Clarity forces momentum. And finally, anchoring. What are you anchored to? Because if you don't have a compelling vision, you'll be hijacked by every distraction. Excellence can't survive without something greater pulling you forward. It doesn't have to be poetic. It just has to be personal. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's redemption. Maybe it's revenge. Maybe it's freedom. But it must be real. It must be yours. And it must be louder than your laziness. Now pause. Right now. Ask yourself, what am I anchored to? If it doesn't make you emotional, it's not strong enough. If it doesn't make you urgent, it's not close enough. If it doesn't make you sacrifice, it's not deep enough. And if you don't know, good. That's your next mission. Find the fire or nothing else in this video will stick. Because without fire, excellence dies the moment things get hard. And they will. You know they will. So what are you going to do differently tomorrow? No, scratch that. What are you going to do differently the moment this video ends? Because there's no such thing as watching transformation. You either act or you decay. Now let's keep going. Let's talk about excellence in moments that no one sees. Because that's where it either dies or is born. It's not in the applause. It's not in the outcome. It's in the morning when you wake up and don't want to do it but do it anyway. It's in the silence, when no one is watching, and you could cut corners but you don't. It's in the rejection, when you feel like quitting but keep moving anyway. That's where character is forged. That's where separation happens. The ones who become unforgettable aren't more talented. They're more consistent in the shadows. So here's a warning. If you need to be noticed to feel valuable, you'll never last. Excellence often requires you to go unnoticed for long stretches of time. And in that space, most give up. But if you can stay there without external validation, without trophies, without fanfare while still operating with discipline and intention, you will win. And when you finally emerge, they'll say it was sudden. They'll call you lucky. And they'll be wrong. Because it wasn't luck. It was silence. It was structure. It was you refusing to bow to the temptation of mediocrity for just one more day. Let's go deeper. How do you become this kind of person? You study yourself like an elite athlete. You track your energy, your mood, your triggers. You look at your calendar and ask, is this designed for transformation or survival? You ask better questions. What do I need to eliminate that's good but not great? Where am I leaking power out of habit? What are the top 3 actions that move my life forward every single time? And how often am I doing them? And then you rebuild. Brick by boring brick. Until your days become unrecognizable. Until your habits feel like weapons. Until your routines feel like sacred rituals. Until your worst day becomes someone else's dream level of discipline. And that's not ego. That's progress. That's evolution. That's excellence. So I'll ask you again, what did your last 24 hours say about your future? Because every day, you are submitting a report card to your destiny. And one day soon, it's going to cash it in. Make sure you're ready. Let me hit you with something nobody's talking about. Excellence has enemies. And they don't look like villains. They look like comfort. They look like low-stakes goals. They look like praise that came too early. They look like people who love you but don't challenge you. So let me ask, who in your life celebrates your current level but resists your next one? Who keeps you comfortable when you need to be called higher? If you're serious about excellence, you'll need to create distance maybe, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically from anything that normalizes mediocrity. Your life is not a group project. Your standards are not a democracy. Your legacy is not a consensus vote. Some people won't recognize the version of you that emerges from daily excellence. That's okay. You're not here to be recognizable. You're here to be remarkable. You're here to do something so distinct, so consistent, so value-packed that the world is forced to adapt to your new standard. But let's be real. Some of you are still negotiating with your old life. You're still trying to bring yesterday's compromises into tomorrow's breakthroughs. It doesn't work. Breakthroughs aren't polite. They demand violence against your old patterns. They demand the death of excuses, disguised as personality traits. They demand a level of inner warfare that looks like madness from the outside. But it isn't. It's construction. It's the demolition required to build something unshakable. You want clarity? Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. It comes from saying, for the next 30 days, I'll live like I've already become the version of myself I admire. It comes from acting before you feel ready. It comes from burning the backup plan. It comes from making excellence your new baseline, not your occasional breakthrough. Because here's what they don't tell you about daily excellence. Once you taste it once you live, it ruins you for anything less. You won't be able to binge on distraction the same way. You won't be able to sit in low-energy conversations. You won't tolerate lazy thinking, weak language, or vague goals. You'll feel allergic to the average. You'll crave the stretch. You'll start measuring your life in impact per hour, not hours worked. And people will notice. They'll feel your calibration shift. And some will fall away. Good. That's the price of realignment. Let it cost what it must. Because the ROI on excellence is eternal. And the invoice is due daily. Let's talk about time, because excellence has a timetable. Not a vague, someday notion. A clock. And here's the brutal truth. Most people waste more life in 1 week than high performers waste in a year. Why? Because they think time is abundant. Because they confuse being busy with being effective. Because they plan for energy as if it's infinite. But excellence demands precision. It demands that every hour be treated like it matters, because it does. It demands that you stop outsourcing your schedule to distractions, apps, and other people's emergencies. So here's your next move. Audit your week. Not in theory. In writing. Every hour. Every block. Every leak. What are you actually doing with your time? Now look at your calendar and ask, is this designed to produce growth or maintain comfort? Be honest. And if the answer disgusts you, good. You just found your leverage. And let's go further. Excellence requires pre-decisions. What does that mean? It means deciding in advance what your non-negotiables are before the moment tests you. It means having answers already installed so you don't negotiate with emotion. It means designing your mornings so they create energy, not consume it. It means designing your inputs so they ignite thinking, not numb it. It means deciding what to say no to without guilt. You can't live in excellence if you keep redeciding every day whether you're going to live in discipline. That kind of inconsistency ruins momentum. You need standards so deeply embedded that they become your default, not your inspiration. Let me be clear. You don't rise to your level of goals. You fall to your level of structure. So upgrade the structure. Upgrade the rituals. Upgrade the minimums. Most people ask, how can I get motivated? Wrong question. Ask instead, how can I make excellence automatic? That's the secret. Make it hard to fail. Make it impossible to avoid your goals. Make it frictionless to succeed. Excellence is not a grind when the infrastructure is solid. It becomes rhythm. It becomes art. It becomes life. Here's a question most won't ask you, but I will. Who do you become when no one's grading your performance? Because excellence isn't for the public. It's for you. It's not how you show up when the camera's on. It's how you show up when the world forgets your name. It's the quality of your choices when there's no applause, no accountability, no pressure, only vision. Vision is the pressure, not external expectations, not fear of failure. Just you versus the highest version of you. So let's get uncomfortably specific. What did your habits look like this morning? What did you consume before noon? What thoughts dominated your mind as you started your day? Were they elevating you or confirming the same version you said you were done with? That's where transformation hides. Not in dramatic moments, in micro decisions. So what if you rewrote those micro decisions? What if, for 30 days, you refused to tolerate emotional autopilot? What if you caught yourself in the moment of drift and redirected with intensity? What if you replaced mindless consumption with conscious construction? What if your entire identity was rebuilt on intentional hour at a time? Too intense? Good. Intensity isn't the enemy. Inconsistency is. You've tried gentle. You've tried patient. You've tried waiting for motivation. Now try deliberate. Try aggressive kindness to your future self. Try daring to live like your destiny depends on today, because it does. And yes, it'll feel weird at first. Your nervous system will rebel. You'll feel out of alignment. That's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that transformation is working, because your current system is optimized for your current identity. And when you install a new system, the old wiring screams. Let it. Keep going. One clean decision at a time. One elite repetition at a time. Until your normal becomes unrecognizable. That's the art of daily excellence. It's not a goal. It's a lens, a posture, a recalibration of who you are, what you accept, and how you build. You don't chase results. You become the kind of person they chase. You don't chase validation. You embody value. You don't chase influence. You radiate clarity, and clarity magnetizes. So, let's pause here. Not to reflect, but to decide. What are you becoming? And what are you refusing to tolerate one more day? Because excellence doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for consensus. It doesn't wait for the right mood, right weather, or right phase of the moon. It moves, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Because that's the threshold most never cross. They wait to feel ready. You've waited long enough. Let's get tactical. You need 3 anchors every morning. 1. A question that sharpens your mind. 2. An action that aligns your body. 3. A reminder of who you refuse to be. Your brain must be trained daily, just like your body. Not with noise, with design. So here's a challenge. Every morning for the next 30 days, ask yourself one of these questions. What would the most focused version of me do today? What am I avoiding that would change everything? Who do I need to become to make progress automatic? Then take one bold action. Not safe, not symbolic, bold. The kind of action that makes your doubt nervous. That's how you reset your identity. And then anchor it. Create a physical ritual that tells your system, this is who I am now. This, maybe it's how you stand, how you breathe, how you speak to yourself. Small shifts, big stakes. Because once your body believes the change, your mind starts to follow. Excellence becomes embodied, not just imagined. Let me say something else. You can't think your way into a new level. You must act your way there. Thinking without movement becomes anxiety. Clarity comes from momentum, not contemplation. So what are you still overthinking? Name it. Now move. You'll never feel like it. But excellence isn't a feeling. It's a frequency. And once you tune in, once you hold that line long enough, your entire life starts to sync to that signal. People show up. Opportunities align. Energy amplifies. Not because of luck, but because your habits began transmitting a new standard. And the world listens. Always. So make it listen to something undeniable. Let's go deeper. Excellence isn't just about what you do, it's about what you ignore. Distraction is the tax you pay for indecision. Every alert you check, every scroll session you justify, every low-quality input you tolerate, it costs you. Not just time, focus, direction, self-trust. And that last one is lethal. When you keep breaking your own standards, your confidence rots from the inside. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain no longer believes your word. So let's change that. One commitment at a time. No vague goals. No, I'll try. Only, this is who I am now. Draw the line. Hold it. Then raise it. Again and again. Not because you're chasing some version of perfection, but because your future deserves a stronger gatekeeper. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what enters. You decide what stays. You decide what dies. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want. They're wrong. Freedom means discipline over chaos, clarity over clutter, alignment over applause. And the more internal freedom you build, the less external noise can touch you. Your life becomes frictionless, your days become weapons, and your future becomes inevitable. So here's the question. Are you willing to be misunderstood today in order to be undeniable tomorrow? Because that's the toll, and it's worth it. Let the world laugh. Let the critics talk. Let the metrics dip, while you rise, while you sharpen, while you build stone by stone until what was once optional becomes automatic, and what was once your stretch becomes your standard. and what was once impossible becomes your new minimum. That's daily excellence. That's the art. And this is your moment. You've made it this far, most never do. Most stop at the first sign of discomfort. Most quit when the path gets quiet. But you're still here. And that tells me everything I need to know about who you're becoming. So let me give you something most won't. A warning. The better you get, the more invisible the rewards become. In the beginning, you're celebrated for every small win. But eventually, excellence becomes your baseline. And no one claps for baseline. No one throws a party because you followed through. No one sends a trophy because you didn't quit. So if you need applause to keep going, excellence will crush you. But if you can stay lit from the inside, if you can cultivate internal fire when the world offers nothing but silence, then nothing can stop you. Because eventually that silence becomes your signal. It tells you you're ahead. It tells you you're building something rare. And rare things are always built in the dark. So what do you do in that dark? You sharpen. You simplify. You remove friction. You redesign your environment. You uninstall everything that dulls your edge. You double down on the inputs that charge you. And you move. Quietly. Powerfully. Consistently. Until your life starts to reflect the strength you've built in secret. And it will. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon. Because excellence never hides for long. It leaves clues. In your tone. In your presence. In the energy you bring to a room. In the way people respond to Vin, if they can't explain why. So let me ask you, one final time. What did your last 24 hours say about your future? Because that's the scorecard. That's the compass. That's the proof. And if the answer isn't yet what you want it to be good, that means the work still matters. That means you still care. That means you're still becoming. And if you keep becoming every single day, the world won't be able to look away for long. Now go finish the work. Not someday. Now, let me leave you with this. The game is not about more. It's about mastery. And mastery means subtraction. Less noise. Less negotiation. Less waiting. Less compromise. It means doing the same core things better, deeper, sharper until they become unbreakable. It means saying no to 99 things so you can say yes to one with full power. It means choosing focus when distraction is free. It means choosing discipline when chaos is trending. It means showing up, again and again, when no one asks you to. That's what separates. Not talent. Not charm. Not luck. The ones who master their day master their destiny. You don't have to predict your future. You just have to build ether by hour, choice by choice, rep by rep. That's the art. That's the edge. And that's what's waiting on the other side of your next decision. Make it count. Still here? Good. Because now I want to talk to the version of you that's about to emerge. The version that doesn't wait for conditions. The version that executes even when it hurts. The version that trades validation for volume of reps, volume of service, volume of self-respect. This version of you is rare. This version doesn't need more time. It needs more truth, more structure, more stakes. You can build this version in silence. You can build it with a journal, a calendar, a cold shower, a deep breath before the next decision. You can build it with boundaries. You can build it by replacing I hope with I decide. You can build it by obsessing over your inputs, because your outputs will never outperform them. You can build it by repeating until boring becomes brilliant. You can build it by remembering that the longer you play at your edge, the more your edge expands. That's how you do it. Not in a flash, but in a rhythm. You don't just master a day, you master it again, and again, and again, until one day without realizing you've built a future that looks like magic to everyone else. But to you, it'll look like Tuesday, and that's when you'll know you didn't just pursue excellence, you became it. So let this be your challenge. Not tomorrow, Not next Monday. Now. Start mastering 1 hour, then 2. Stack it. Repeat it. Don't just plan proof. Don't just write it, walk it. Because the only thing standing between you and the next level is proof. Proof to yourself. Proof you can trust your word again. Proof that excellence isn't out there, it's built here. You are the evidence. Now go. Rebuild your 24 hours until they bow to your standards. Rewire your actions until they echo your future. Reclaim your time like it funds your legacy, because it does. And never again confuse motion with movement. You know the difference. You feel it in your gut. That tension, that pressure, that's the signal. You're close, closer than you think. And this time, you finish. And when it gets quiet again, when the excitement fades, when no one claps, no one checks, and no one seems to notice the work you're doing, that's when you double down. That's when the invisible momentum kicks in. That's when your internal scorecard becomes louder than external noise. Because real success isn't loud. It's not viral. It's not trending. It's internal alignment day after day after day. So let's make something clear. You don't owe the world an explanation. You owe your future discipline. You don't need permission. You need consistency. You don't have to fake energy. You have to create systems that protect it. This is your time to stop consuming advice and start constructing results. Pick one thing, lock it in, and dominate it. Then build from there. Your next season will not be built by emotion. It will be built by architecture. Structure is strength. Repetition is wealth. Discipline is freedom. And you, if you stay sharp, will become unstoppable. Not because you're special, but because you finally got serious. And once that switch flips, everything changes. So next time you wake up before the phone, before the news, before the noise, ask yourself, what would excellence do right now? Would it wait? Would it scroll? Would it hit snooze on a life most people never get the courage to pursue? Or would it move? Silently, intentionally, powerfully. This is your reminder. You were not built for mediocrity. You were not designed for distraction. You were not wired to waste. You were built to stretch, to lead, to impact, to refine. Every breath is a vote. Every hour a statement. Every habit a prophecy. So let today be the start of a new frequency. Let your energy speak before your words do. Let your calendar tell the truth about your values. Let your presence demand attention not from noise, but from excellence. And if you ever doubt, return to this. What did your last 24 hours say about your future? Answer that every day. Live like it every hour. And soon, the question will no longer haunt you. It will guide you. Because you'll be living the answer. Because this is the art of daily excellence. It's not a single act. It's not a single moment. It's not some magical morning routine passed around like a secret. It's you, choosing over and over. Choosing better thoughts, better reactions, better standards. Choosing to rise. Choosing to hold the line when no one is watching. Choosing to build a future so precise, so powerful, so pure in intent that it cannot be stolen, shaken, or silenced. Let that be your mission, and let the proof live in your days. Now go. Build it. You've heard every word. Now there's only one question left. Will you implement? Not just today, but daily. Not perfectly, but deliberately. Because your future isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for proof. And today is your chance to give it. Let this not be just a message you liked. Let this be a mirror you answered. Let this be the day you marked the line and never looked back. Now go lead your life like it matters. Because it does. Final reminder, this path won't always be popular. It won't always be visible, but it will always be worth it. Build anyway. Decide anyway. Lead anyway. Because excellence leaves a legacy that noise never could. And your legacy is now in motion. And when you wake up tomorrow, remember this moment. Remember the words. Remember the fire, because there will come a moment when doubt returns. When the noise gets louder, when the pull of old habits whispers louder than the call of your vision. In that moment, don't negotiate. Decide. Act. Repeat. That's how excellence is built. In the uncelebrated hours. In the unshared progress. In the repetitions that no one sees, but change everything. This is the version of you that gets remembered. Not because you chased glory, but because you lived in truth. Not because you waited, but because you worked. Not because you hoped, but because you held the line. Now go. And don't just finish strong, live strong. Daily. Here's one last reminder etched in truth. Your results will always betray your routines. You don't get what you fantasize about. You get what you repeat. And repetition, with intention, builds identity. So who are you rehearsing every single day? Excellence is not an achievement, it's a rehearsal. The way you show up in ordinary hours becomes the script for extraordinary outcomes. You want uncommon results? Start living uncommon hours. Speak uncommon words. Hold uncommon standards. Protect uncommon peace. If the average person wouldn't do it, lean into it. That's the trail. That's the path. You know the next step. You feel it in your bones. So trust it. And this time, don't just aim for greatness. Train for it. Live for it. Repeat it until it's undeniable. And when the doubt returns again, and it will meet it with the only thing that breaks it, proof. Not arguments. Not quotes. Proof. Proof from the way you show up, from how you move, from how you finish what most only start. Let them wonder what changed. Let them question what happened. You'll know. You answered the call. You chose the narrow path. And now it's your standard. Excellence isn't just what you pursue. It's who you've become. And the world will have no choice but to respond.